Moments ago, a stunning turn of events at the U.S. Open women's final. 20-year-old Naomi Osaka of Japan defeated Serena Williams. The ending, though, was controversial to say the least. Andy Scholes joins me now with the details. Andy, Serena lashing out at the chair umpire. What happened? How did we get to that point?
So, Erica, we were in the second set. Now, Naomi Osaka had already won the first set. Serena was already in defense mode trying to battle back. She had been frustrated in the match already because she was not on her serve. She had so many double faults. So in that second set, though, coming out of one of the games, the chair umpire gave her a warning for coaching because he said that her coach was giving her hand signals from his seat in the stands, and Serena did not like that. She immediately approached him and went at him and said that she in no way was receiving coaching. She doesn't cheat. She'd rather lose. She pointed at him and said, "You owe me an apology." Then she just went back to playing. Well, the second set continued to not really go Serena's way. And after losing another game to Osaka, she broke her racket on the ground. And at that point, since she had already received a warning, she received a point penalty. So coming out of that next game, then she was down 15-0, 15-love. And Serena was not happy about that again. She berated the umpire in between the sets and in between the games. And at that point, the umpire gave her another penalty. And the third penalty is a game penalty. And at that point, it put Serena down 5-3 as opposed to 4-3. Big swing in the match because she could have come back and won that second set. And then who knows? And at that point, Serena asked to speak to one of the officials here at the U.S. Open. They came on the court, Erica, and it was just chaos in Arthur Ashe Stadium. The fans were booing like crazy because it was a very pro-Serena crowd. They were all not happy. Serena was in tears explaining that this happens, that the men do this all the time and receive hand signals from their coaches and get no penalty whatsoever, yet she was getting penalized for it. And her coach, after the match, admitted that he was giving her hand signals, but he said in his entire career he has never been penalized for this. The commentators during the match, Erica, said they have never seen someone be penalized for this, especially in a Grand Slam final. So it was just incredible scene unfolding, and it's going to go down as the most controversial Grand Slam final maybe that we've ever seen.
That may be an understatement. The Twitter is lighting up, to put it mildly, as I was checking during the break. Let me just make sure I understand this correctly, too. So the initial call by the chair umpire was because he saw Serena's coach in the stands doing what he perceived to be him coaching, making gestures from the stands. She said that didn't happen.
Yes.
She still is assessed a penalty, right? Then the racket issue happened.
Correct. Well, at that point, it was a warning.
Okay, so it was just a warning. But all of this then escalated, and then the coach admitted later that he was giving her signals from the stands and was coaching. I mean, is she saying now that she was receiving? I mean, there are like multiple plot lines happening here at once.
Correct. So she said she wasn't receiving coaching. And, you know, I would say that I guess most tennis players don't really consider that coaching. You know, it's just the coaches in the stands doing hand signals. And like her coach, Patrick Mouratoglou, said after the match, he's done it basically his entire career at matches all the time, has never been penalized for it in his career. And and nothing's ever happened. As Serena said, the men do it all the time, and no one ever gets penalized. So there was a little bit lost in translation where Serena says there was no coaching happening, and then her coach did afterwards said he was giving hand signals. So
did she also, when she was saying to, the men do it all the time, she also made some reference to things like this always happen to me here. Was she saying that she has dealt with more issues at the U.S. Open than she does in other tournaments?
That's appeared to be what she was pointing at. She basically, at one point, when she brought out the officials saying this was the last straw, it felt like she had been wronged before in her mind, and that this was the last straw, and that brought her to tears out there on the court. And it was so fascinating, Erica, because everyone in the stands was listening to this all unfold, and it was almost like, I almost felt like a riot was going to ensue at one point because of the booing and how angry everyone was getting. But Serena, to her credit, you know, once she calmed down a little bit, tried to wave to the crowd to calm down a little bit, and she kind of felt herself that it was a little unfortunate what was happening because, you know, Naomi Osaka, 20-year-old, was about to win her first Grand Slam title of her career, beating her idol, and I feel like Serena could sense that this was totally ruining her moment.
Right, which is important, and we don't want to lose sight of that she is the first Japanese tennis player, I believe, to win here. She's 20 years old. She idolizes Serena, as we know. I want to bring in Christine Brennan now. Christine, touching, though, on what happened with Serena today on the court, the comments that she made about things like this always happen to me here. Has there been some sort of bias against Serena Williams by the umpires at Arthur Ashe or other courts at the U.S. Open in the past that you know of?
Erica, about 10 years ago, there was a foot fault called on Serena at a key point at the U.S. Open, and people might remember this. She actually took the ball and said she was going to shove it down the official's throat. It was really a bad moment for Serena, and that, as I said, about 10 years ago now. So there was that. I think the key point here, and Andy, of course, laid it out beautifully, but I think the key point here is that if tennis were kind of like golf, in other words, where no one yells, no one swears, no one gets mad. By the way, we're not saying Serena swore. She said, "You're a thief, you stole a point from me." Right. If tennis did not have John McEnroe in it, or Eli Nastase going way back, or misbehavior galore, especially by the men, then I think what happened to Serena, the chair umpire taking control of the match and basically ruining the end of the match, then you could say, well, that's justified because it's like golf. The problem here is that tennis does have the history with John McEnroe, Nastase, and other bad boys, especially Jimmy Connors and others. And for Serena then to be penalized in that matter, the game especially, not so much the point, but the game at that crucial moment, that is above and beyond and way out of line with what is happening in tennis, especially men's tennis. Serena was absolutely right about that, and I think that's one of the big takeaways in this controversy and growing scandal at the end of this match that was historic because Serena was trying to go for that 24th Grand Slam title. And I think that's why this is going to get this kind of attention, Erica, because it does seem to be, and I'll just say it doesn't seem to be, it is a double standard. And that's what we have just seen here at the U.S. Open.
Right. And you point out, I mean, so many people watching this, not just because what we have seen from Serena in her comeback, but of course, she played Osaka and lost, right? The last time that they met, this was one of her first matches after coming back from maternity leave. We know how emotional that was for her, how much it pushed her in her training even to get back to this point. We see these incredible moments for Osaka, who played so well by all accounts as well. Is there any recourse? Do you envision anything happening to this umpire?
I think we may not see him again at the U.S. Open because this is the kind of thing that, and I have no idea. I have no idea, but this is just the ultimate buzzkill, and that's not even the right word, Erica. There's got to be a bigger, better word than that for this moment. And I also want to say this, though. Serena did speak to the crowd afterwards in the ceremony, and she literally put her arm around Osaka, who, by the way, idolized Serena. And Osaka is crying, of course, and really having a tough time handling this because the boos were still raining. Serena said, enough booing. Stop booing. She won. Congratulations to her. So I think we're going to, among many things we may remember here about the last 20 minutes or so, we may end up with a positive here. Serena's sportsmanship after the fact in that ceremony was exactly pitch perfect, exactly what you would hope and expect from Serena. And what I saw of it briefly, it sounds like she really was trying to move everybody forward, and that's a positive step. But she has a legitimate beef, and the story, I think we can say safely, Erica, is not going away.
I think it is only just beginning. And listen, to Serena's point there, and her sportsmanship at the end, that a 20-year-old young woman just won her first Grand Slam, that this is also a major milestone for the country that she plays for Japan, and that this happened against her idol, Serena Williams. We also shouldn't overlook that fact, that she should be celebrated on her win. And kudos to Serena for making sure that that's what the message is at the end of this.
Well, and I think there might be people saying, well, wait a minute, then Serena, why did you fight? Serena's fighting for every point. She is really back on her heels, and she wants this more than anything, and most of us assume she'd win it. And this is so historic. A year ago, she was fighting for her life, she said, after giving birth and 4 operations, blood clots, et cetera. It was a terrible, terrible time for her. So to come back this far is extraordinary. We've never seen anything quite like this in sport, not just tennis, men or women, anyone to come back like this that quickly and be at the top of her game. And so she's fighting for every point. I do not blame her for going at it with the umpire.